What? Well, what's up, guys? Welcome to Goofy Guys Adventures. Let's test out this mic, see if you can hear me first. So I'll be doing my live review here. Oh, man, I forgot 1 second here. Hold on. I forgot two things. That's not a good way to start a video. Oh. All right, cool. Here we go. That kind of was like I set that up, actually. All right. So the time has came. For those of you that show up here, I'll be saying what's up to the goofballs per usual. But yes, Tron is now available to people to go watch. So that's pretty awesome, right? Whoa. I think a lot of people were going to ask me right off the bat, like, what was my questions on this? If you follow the channel, here on Goofy Guys Adventures, a lot of people are probably going to ask me, what do I think about Tron Ares? Because ever since day one, I've been live streaming, big Disney content creator. If you're coming up on this video, this live stream previously from something else that you just saw Tron Ares review, I'm giving you a review as a fan. It is a Tron shirt. I don't know if you can see that, but I'm a big Tron fan, obviously. So maybe this won't be as people may look for things that are not as biased. I guess they're going to want things that are unbiased reviews, but I'll be honest. I'm going to give it to you as a review as a fan and then as a cinematic video movie fan. So right off the bat, show my Tron shirt. That looks funny. And if you hear cats or noises in the back, I apologize to all the goofballs too, because that could be happening too. I didn't really tell anybody this, but here we go. All right, hopefully I didn't lose everybody. Tron Ares. If you haven't seen Tron at all before, what you're going to get out of this movie is a cinematic adventure. And I think a lot of people are getting caught up in the idea of Tron Ares being a removed installment from the 80s and then earlier in the 2000s to now taking 10 years for this movie to be made. And I think that's a problem that we all need to look at and just forget about that right off the bat. Now, there will be some spoilers in this review, but I'm going to wait all the way till the end to explain that. So don't worry if you're here being like, oh man, I don't want to hear anything about the movie. First thing I'm going to say right off the bat, 4 out of 5. And I know a lot of people are going to be like, first criticisms, everyone's giving it like 2s and 3s and 3.5s when you see these reviews online. Try to ignore the reviews, because let's start off from here. Tron, the original movie, Tron Legacy, we're both, I was talking to Rebecca about this, that's my wife, talking about it. They're not highly reviewed movies. These are cult classic followed movies. So with that, you have to think about it in this realm. Cult classics, aren't always home run hitters, and Tron has been up against some very tough competition. And I think the way people look at sci-fi movies now these days and anything, fantasy, because we have these huge franchises, they're trying to put it up against those type of things. But you need to realize the visuals in the movie, everyone says they're good. The soundtrack does track, nails it. And then also the action sequences for it being a sci-fi movie and storyline play out to the way you'd want in a movie like that. They do all of those things. They check the boxes. So why wouldn't you give it a 4 out of 5? I think a good thing that I've talked to Rebecca about in explaining this is that a lot of time people are like, hey, what about, like, did you feel like it was worth the price of admission? I watched it in 40x, so maybe that will be a little bit more biased, which was, side note, one of the most awesome experiences. If you don't know what 40x is, it's literally like a Disneyland ride watching the movie. And if you can go up and bump that ticket to do that and get to watch it, you are going to have a moment of like pure excitement and cinematic like adventure. Because I'll just go on this route. 40X, I've been hearing about it. So be prepared. Those chair moves. There's blasts. There's like splashes even. There's air pressure. There's fog machines. What's up, Shan? Hello. Yo, so it's a lot happening in a movie. There's so much going on. But dude, if you can watch it in 40X, I highly suggest it, because it felt like a 2-hour ride. I even said when I left the movie theater, dude, I haven't had that much fun at a movie theater, and Rebecca was the same way. My wife, same thing, said, I haven't had that much fun at a movie theater in a long time. Secondly, and then even like at a theme park. But remember, I know some people may get motion sick, and there's a lot of shaking, there's a lot of craziness in the movie, and it's not built for everyone. So I'm gonna go slide right back into the review of the movie. So the cinematic value of the movie, I think a lot of people think of the storyline. What about happening with Tron Ares being this AI program, which I'm not going to spoil too much here, being integrated and introduced to World Worlds as part of the Tron series? I gotta say, they did a good job about storytelling. I know right off the bat, people are looking for these continuations of previous Tron movies. You're not necessarily getting a continuation, it is a part of the franchise. But think of it like as Tron Ares, as you would think of it like in Marvel Avengers or a series like if you're watching one of those Star Wars series where Tron is being introduced, right? But it's Tron Ares is being introduced. Still following that universe of Tron, but introducing a new storyline, paying a lot of homage to side notes of what have been introduced before. So what am I giving Tron Ares? A 4 out of 5 if you didn't hear that. Cinematic, good storytelling. Anyone tells you that it's like, oh, I was sitting there, I wasn't entertained, and this was kind of just something like I just sat through and I didn't really understand what's going on. I think they're being very critical of a movie that's been, always been criticized. The visuals hold up. I think in Tron Legacy, a lot of times we were like, wow, they were really ahead of their time. And this, what I think I took from it, in my opinion, is the introduction of Tron being introduced into a computer program, into real world designs. That's where you have to take away and think, whoa, man, this is an adventure way beyond anything I've ever done before. Like super exciting, super intense, and lots of different questions of like each of these characters' developments that are going through it. They're trying to figure out their way and how they play out in this real world, but being computer programs. And I think a lot, what was interesting is that when they made this movie, they've talked about like AI being introduced in it. Like one of these things like, oh, this is AI. This was 9 years in development. When they were talking about AI, and now you have this like basically 3D printed, like to the max warrior, in which would be Jared Leto. And man, every one of the actors took their role in a place that I would say that they took some pride in knowing that they were telling a story that was something that was beyond, that's something that hasn't been touched. AI. I mean, that's the idea that people have to realize. Like every Tron movie has had something. Well, first, it's like one of the first ever movies used computer graphic imagery, right? For Tron, the original. Tron Legacy was one of the first times when people saw like an EDM soundtrack meet up with these digital high CGI. Now you have high CGI. You have a cool soundtrack, which I think Nine Inch Nails killed it. And I think people really don't, the reviews you're seeing, no one's criticizing the soundtrack or the visuals. These like high tier reviews, they're criticizing the story. And that's what I'm trying to say. Back away from that part of the story. It's a sci-fi movie for 2 hours. And there's a lot more to it, like I said, in regards to character development. That's the key. It's the AI they're talking about that's breaking the mold here. I think that's what people have to realize. Like the AI component of the movie explained Jared Leto's character. And some people are like, oh man, like, oh gosh, I wish there would be more from like an AI. Like I feel disconnected if it's being introduced. Dude, shut up. If you think about ChatGPT where it was a year ago to where it was now, like just think of that as an AI in that situation. It's a whole different ballgame, right? So think about Tron Ares is being introduced as this mega battle like warrior, right? That's built from a computer AI system, 3D printed to be in the real world. No spoilers here. Not an easy thing. And they show that through storytelling. Even in this story, they showed that was not an easy task in the movie. And they were trying to focus on that being a main plot line. So shut up, reviewers. That is a cool thing just alone that they were trying to build in to an idea of the thought process of like really introducing an AI program into the world as a person. Insane. So yes, once again, full circle back. For those criticizing the storyline, those people need to realize that this is Tron is a part of the Tron now, like overlay, like Star Wars and Marvel. He's a character introduced. He is not Sam Flynn. He is not Kevin Flynn. He's not even one of those characters from the beginning, right? These are things that are coming back into a different realm of now Tron's next chapter. And explaining that was hard enough just trying to get that all laid out. I can only imagine. So for everybody that you may see like online, I know I've been hearing, I'm doing this review. Side note, what's up, goofballs? Appreciate you guys supporting the channel via memberships. Thank you guys for coming in that are watching them right now. I just want to say Tron Ares is worth the ticket. Go watch it in regular D. Just go watch it. The soundtrack pumps the whole movie up. Like, it is so... You know how, like, when Daft Punk, like I said, introduced EDM to symphonic or symphony sounds and to create a soundtrack that was a score, but an EDM soundtrack in a grid? This takes it to the punk grunge level, of which I think a lot of people have forgotten, like the evolution of, like, when you're doing like a soundtrack. Punk grunge is not always something that's like in a sci-fi movie. So to do that, introduce that as another new thing. And I could tell why they picked Nine Inch Nails. They literally played this thing out, like adapting those computer CGI things that everybody doesn't necessarily always say, like, oh, CGI, it's computer. You get that vibe, it's pumping through. So yeah, Paul just said, I hear it's but I'll watch it anyways. Please watch it. And I'm not saying this is like, obviously I'm a Tron fan. Go watch it for your own cinematic value. Dude, I've watched some movies before where I sit there on sci-fi and I'm like, what am I watching? Like, they really just piece this together. For them to nail the CGI of these scenes, like it was shot in Vancouver, like overnight, and to make it look, introducing some of these, like, I can't even explain, like, these visuals like behind me. When you see it on screen, it's insane. It is like, what the heck? Someone had to think about, when they were developing out the movie, right, the CGI of it, like, how would I make this pay homage to the Tron movies, but Tron Legacy on steroids? So that's literally what it is, going through the towns and going through each of the cities and the scenes when you see the full integration. I had nothing but a good time watching this. The music, once again, number one. CGI, terrific. 4. The only reason that people are going to be like, well, why don't you give it a 5? Well, the true reason why I don't give it a 5, and it's just, this is it. It's because for me, when I watch this movie, this is where the spoilers are coming, everybody. It's not over. So if you're not wanting to hear any spoilers, this is the point when you want to stop watching, okay? Stop watching now. So this movie's not over. This is an introduction, like I just mentioned. I said that on purpose, to being like Star Wars, and then also like the I'll wait another second for all you want to leave or shut it off. Okay. For all of you guys that are here now still, and then watching this, may made this far, this is not over. Tron Ares is something that is now a story, and they do put parts in the movie to reintroduce, and this is why I'm having a hard time with people that are criticizing the movie, a possibility of bringing back old characters. Yes, Kevin Flynn makes an appearance in the movie. If you haven't seen the trailers and you like the old Tron, this is going to speak to the Tron fans. The scenes when Kevin Flynn is reintroduced into the movie, holy cow. It's like the original Tron, when if you ever watched it and you saw the layouts, what they did, the grid looking CGI, it now looks like taking a trip to the grid, but in this era of CGI. And it is beautiful. It is something, and Nine Inch Nails soundtrack really hits on that point. But not just that, the movie is a part of what they are insinuating at the end, that Tron Ares develops into a character that has more to do on the realm of Earth. And Kevin Flynn has given his blessing to Tron Ares to do that with reintroducing Sam Flynn. So that's like a big spoiler. I hate to say that. I hate to bring it out for those. I haven't even seen the first one. So for those of the people who are like, I haven't even seen the first one, good. There's going to be homage that gets paid in it, that you're going to see like an arcade. You're going to see a laser. You're gonna see maybe some things like weird looking ships, right? Are you gonna see these? Those are for the Tron fans, and they do mention in the movie, like, did you ever hear of Kevin Flynn? Did you ever hear of ANCOM? Did you hear of the Dillinger system? These are all references to the original Tron movie. Try not to get too caught up in that, and just think about what's happening in the movie and the premise of an AI program built for destruction with an army behind them battling through this movie, trying to depict in battling with real people being introduced to an AI world. So, yes, all I have to say is that first time done, right? Is everybody forgetting Tron has always had like a first time done, first time CGI, first time when they did CGI in the high def they did for Tron Legacy. Additionally, a first time when they used an EDM artist to do like a full on score soundtrack. And now you have the first time a movie is introducing like a 3D printed AI character being put into a movie. We're not talking about like Ex Machina, that's like this printed out robot that comes out, you know, like that's the idea. Everyone's like, well, what about Terminator? What about these things? Those were thought out differently in a different time period. So that's what you have to think about in this. Like, I know that people were like, well, that premise of like AI and Terminator and robots, Ex Machina turning on people, that is not, this thing is like intelligently like an AI system being introduced if it started developing out real thoughts into what's being fed into the system. I was at California for Electronica. Does that count? Kevo totally counts. Do you need to see the first one? It can stand alone. Honestly, because like I said, it's the start of a new one. You're going to get introductions of things. The first 5 minutes are like this crazy CGI experience of like when they're loading up and showing Tron Ares' actual development. That is insanely cool. I mean, it's like literally like a loading and you're seeing the printout of it happening. But as that's happening, they're doing like a quick like recap of like, this is what's happened and this is what's been going on. They kind of help people along to be like, well, this is where we're at in this movie. And then it just starts. You get enough synopsis about what's happening to be okay. You'll be fine. Most of it is just paying homage to an older movie. Forget about the other ones. You could watch this one just fine alone. And I'd say if you want 2 hours of escapism with cool, grungy soundtrack music to, I mean, amazing graphics, and then an adventure outside of every sci-fi movie that, you know, recently has been ruled by like Galaxy Heroes kind of style. You know, those are more like action. The action in this, I think I almost forgot to mention this, way more action than any other Tron movie. Way more action. I'm talking about like, out of the 2 hours of the movie, I would say at least 75% is action. There's a very small amount of it that relies on just like other sci-fi movies. You kind of sit through it for a little bit. You're waiting. Even Tron Legacy, you're like waiting, right? What's up? Watch the Tron Ares movie an hour ago. I thought it was a fun movie that sets sequels. There it is. See? Sets the sequels up. It's a fun movie. Thanks, Rob Law, and thanks for coming in and giving that recap. That's exactly what I'm trying to say. Before you knock it, go try it. It sets the sequels up. That's what it does. That's what it was meant for, and that's what a movie that should do. Think about, man, if we're not going to come after Avatar, I mean, what? We're going to go, you know, like, if people are like, oh, man, Avatar's this. It's trying to build something like at Disney parks. They made the Tron ride. They were thinking already like this was something they were trying to keep going because it is an original. So I appreciate that. If you like Nine Inch Nails alone, you're going to love the movie because they kill it. The soundtrack kills it. I'm just saying, it's, when you see critics, they're going to say, oh, soundtrack was good. Graphics were pretty cool. But the story, forget it. Just go watch it as a fan and not even having to go watch the other Tron movies. Just go watch it. And like I said, the main idea is think about how fast ChatGPT, blah, 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 AI is moving right now. Think about if it got introduced and the power that would hold and the ramifications that can hold in the real world. And that's a story it tells. And Jared Leto's not the only character. I'll be honest, I think the strongest character development is the villain, not the one you're thinking of right now, which you might be thinking of Evan Peters' character, the Dillinger family. They are villains, but there's another villain in there that's a part of Tron's spoiler, Tron's army, that I think plays a way better role and kills it. Really brings that villain that you're like, yeah, I want to compare it to Terminator and all these movies of bad AI. It's way worse. And the transition of character for Jared Leto as Tron Ares is pretty good. So nice to see you, Rob Law. What is appreciate that. So pretty much a 2-hour 9-inch nails video, and I love 9-inch nails, so I was down. Rob Law, perfect thing. So it's yes, that's one way to explain it. 9-inch nails music video, I think. So think of it in if you're thinking if you just love 9-inch nails, you're gonna love that. If you're thinking about Tron, you're gonna love the homage it pays back to what check mark. You're gonna pay off to what you originally liked. As a Tron fan, my honest review, 4 out of 5. And that's a guy that's like same expecting. I'm always gonna love Tron Legacy because that's technically how I got introduced in the Tron series. But think of it just like this. There's kids and adults these days that got introduced to Star Wars at Return of the Jedi, at The Empire Strikes Back, and A New Hope, right? There's ones today that we criticize for these newer ones, The Last Skywalker, right? This is how they get introduced to Tron. Ares is how they get introduced to Tron. And this is the story that they will have. And it holds up. It's not like when I watch it, I'm like, well, that was clunky. They really didn't do the CGI well in that one. No. Oh, wow, the soundtrack, I wish they would have done better. No. Check. Storyline. The first introduction of talking about AI coming into the real world, being used as a weapon, which we would have heard that story before, but what does it do and how does it play out when you have multiple AI characters and multiple weapons? So to wrap it all up, if you haven't gone and watched Tron Ares, go watch it. If you're into adventure, sci-fi, 9-inch nails, and cool CGI, the scenes of like the fighting and the scenes of the vehicles, and the scenes of the like things that they created to make it fit in the real world. Because think of the original Tron for Tron fans, it's always been on the grid, and this is like they were selling that. It's not on the grid anymore. It's in playing out like when Avengers comes on into your real world. And they had a hard job to do that, and they killed it. So appreciate it for that. So I would think Disney, yeah, that's a good point. Rebecca just said, why didn't they bring back Electronica? I'm probably going to see it again next week with more family. Yeah, that's a good question. Thanks, Rob Loff, for putting that in there. Would I go watch it again? Absolutely, I'd go watch it again. And people are like, well, you're a Tron fan. No, yeah, I would go watch it again. I don't know if I could watch it again, not seeing it in 40X, though. Dude, 40X, the scenes, like, spoilers, here we go. When they introduce Tron Ares back after he does a very important part of the movie into the real world, and they reintroduce him the way they do it, it was so crazy. Like in 40X, I'm like, what the it was like shaking. The whole movie was like intense. And the light cycle scenes when you were in 40X, bro, oh my god, it felt like you were on the light cycle. Oh, like it was insane. Like you hear the noises behind you, those cool. As a Tron fan, that you were hearing that, you were hearing blasts, there was like smoke coming out. It was 40X for this movie was done well. The way that they even shifted, and I know people are like, oh, I'd get motion sickness. If you are susceptible, I'm susceptible to motion sickness, and I made it through. I did fine. I get inner ear stuff all the time. So I was surprised. I was worried because it was crazy, but it just had just enough for me, like the 3D and the 40X, issue wasn't that bad. Like even at scenes we were talking about it, like didn't feel too much like I could see they were trying to think about people getting motion sickness. Thanks, Disney. See, I would say I get more motion sickness at Universal than I would have ever got on this. So there you go, Shan Shan. And I've been to Universal a lot, and doing those rides for 5 minutes, there's nothing in the 40X experience that'll make you feel like it does at Universal. So there you go. If you want to compare it to something that'll get you a lot of motion sickness. With all that said, thank you guys for watching. Appreciate you guys out here coming to check out this video. I know I've went just about where I was thinking I was going to get to here. Quick review for those. I've never seen a movie in 40X. This seems like the perfect movie for that. Sure, it is. They did a good job. I don't even think they filmed it for IMAX like everything else, blah, blah, blah. The scenes when you're on the lightcycle fight, when they're chasing each other, oh my god, dude, so cool. And then when they bring in the scene for, gosh, oh, I can't think of it right now. It's not the Rinsler, but it's the when it comes in to do to make the selections from the games, and they bring that into the. Oh my gosh, dude, it was so insane. It made like it felt like it was hovering over you. I can't think of the word right now, but I appreciate you guys for watching this. If you go watch in 4DX, honest review from Tron Ares. If you made it this far, there will be another one. So you're gonna watch it, and I know you might be like, "Oh, I want it to be over." You're gonna want another one after you see it. You're like, "Oh!" And for those Tron fans, what they introduce to show you what the new one, because it includes to keep developing the story. It's just like if you're buying in, they're trying to give us Tron fans, I feel like, and just anyone else being like, okay, if you're watching and you're not a Tron fan, you're like, oh yeah, it's not over. But for other fans that were really hardcore Tron, they're like, no way, you are trying to make this like a cinematic universe, and I like it. I appreciate it. All right, y'all. For all you watch this, appreciate it very much. Make sure to hit that like button if you haven't done so. Go watch the movie if you're on the fence. Really, Rebecca's like, you got to do a review on this because like there is gonna be critical reviews, right? Of people being like, I could have watched something else, and it would have been better if it was this and this and this. Yes, but when movies get so complex, that's usually when people cut out and don't like to watch them. You don't have to worry about this getting too complex other than the idea of being like adventure, action, cool 80s references, Nine Inch Nails soundtrack, and lots of amazing CGI work with some really good characters that make you buy in. All right, y'all. That's a 4 out of 5 for me for Tron Ares. Appreciate you guys watching this all the way to the end. Make sure to hit that like button. Put those sheeps in the chat for those of you that have made it here. And remember, as we always wrap here, be a good person. If you can't be careful. Maybe I should do something like, can I do something just to like, wait, nobody's here. Dang it. Well, I could wake one up. Hold on. If you made it this far, you're going to get a little surprised. Oh. Bye.